promised, Mr. George Lynch joining us in studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and you don't have to call me Mr. or Sir.
Okay, well, George is joining us back in studio. This is, again, a huge honor for us to have you in studio and have you here all week. We were just talking a little bit off on talking about the rehearsals. Normally, you said you'd like to play a couple of warm-up gigs and stuff like this. There's a lot of pressure this week.
There is, because there's a lot to do. We haven't played together in decades, and to just jump from that into, doing a big, high-profile, sold-out show, filming a DVD, recording a live album, to go from nothing to everything all in one fell swoop, that's a tall order. So we do have that pressure, but I got to say, we've been up here rehearsing the last few days, and it sounds great. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is the best the band's ever sounded.
That's fantastic. And one thing we keep hearing from the other guys, and again yesterday, is that you're singing. And that must be something that you
can call it singing. I mean, technically it is, but it's my own special variety of singing. And I do that with air quotes, by the way. No, I got to be careful that I just don't do it for my own enjoyment, because I do enjoy singing, but I just don't do it very well. So I don't want to impose that on other people unnecessarily, right? I want to make sure I'm contributing to the cause. So I just sing on a few things. Where it's not real challenging for me, and I'm supporting,
right,
the chorus or whatever, and I'm helping out. But I'm trying to get better.
I love that. I mean, even after so many years of playing, you're always looking to improve, and I mean, you never rest on your laurels ever, do you?
Well, I mean, I'm doing it because I have a thing about singing. I'm actually a great singer, an amazing singer. Sound like Donald Trump now. And like we all are in the shower and in our own heads, right? And when we're driving, singing along to a song. And I'm just trying to, this is what I do for a living, and I hear this stuff in my head, and it's important for me to be able to translate those ideas, especially when I'm writing in, various projects and bands, and even this band, I'm trying to get an idea across. I hear a melody. It's hard for me to translate that and get that across to a real singer. And I usually do it with my guitar,
right?
But that's not the same thing. So if I'm able to step up to the mic when I'm writing and try to get that idea across to them in a way that they can understand, it really helps, the song, so helps you write a better song.
George Lynch joining us in studio. You mentioned just sort of in passing, the 3-4 other projects. This came up yesterday. Obviously, we know about Lynch Mob, and you're always active with Lynch Mob. Talk about some of the other projects that you've got going on, because I've been doing a little bit of digging, and I want to find out what else is going on with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly for me to have putting so many things together at the same time. I mean, it's not really smart from a business sense, but from a creative sense, it's beautiful because I'm able to wear all kinds of different hats and play with a lot of different people who are my friends and I admire and respect. And basically because I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why wouldn't you?
At my age, I have that luxury. It's a, I mean, the people I'm playing with in these other projects is just phenomenal. I'm pinching myself, I'm like the worst guy in the band, but I'm learning. So KXM is the record that is up next. We just finished that one, and that's Ray Lazier from Korn and Doug Pinnick from King's X.
Wow.
Yeah, this is our second record. The first record did phenomenally well, considering how few records we are all selling these days,
right,
compared to back in the day. It was really surprising. It was very well accepted and critically got a lot of great reviews. People liked it. So there's a lot of demand for the band out there in that specific genre and circles. So we just did a second record, which is going to blow the first one out through the ceiling. It's great. It's a phenomenal record. And the whole thing with KXM, excuse me, is that the philosophy behind it is we don't rehearse. We just come together. Ray lives in Nashville. Doug and I live in L.A., but we don't pre-write songs. We don't get together and do pre-production. We don't do songwriting, anything like that. We book the studio. We bring our sleeping bags and, bags of food, and we come in with one crew guy and one engineer, and we shut the doors, and we come out 10 days to 2 weeks later
with a record.
Wow.
The other band that actually we were playing as you came in, and you mentioned the Rival Sons. That they told us that's their process as well.
What? ripping
I
off
don't know.
my.
That's what they
They
told
ripped
us.
off your idea, but that's what they told
I will.
us.
Rival sons, I'll see you in court, my friend. I say, talk to my lawyer, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. No, I love those guys. I
Yeah.
really do, and I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, that creative process is something completely different than doing the pre-production and the writing when you're on the road and things.
The thing is, when you're a writer and you're a composer, which I like to think myself as an aspiring writer, but you realize that the magic happens right when it happens, and after that, it's all downhill. And it starts, you get the first initial idea, and that's the one that has the energy, and that's, spontaneous, and it's cool, and it's got an edge to it. And then after that, it starts to get watered down, and you start thinking too much.
Right.
So what we tried to do was capture that lightning in a bottle.
It's fun to see you light up when you talk about writing and creating, because yesterday you told us that you originally as a kid wanted to be a park or a forest ranger and somehow ended up in music. Where did that transition happen where you did go the route of music instead?
Well, it wasn't like a fork in the road or
Right.
anything. I mean, it's not like a movie. It's just over years and decades sort of migrated away from one and more towards the other. Although my passions and sympathies and interests lie in both places, of course. I'm not living in a log cabin in the Yukon, but in my mind, I still do.
Still think about it from time to time? If paths have changed? Or
Well, I'm a big backpacker and an outdoor person and environmentalist, and I'm involved with issues and things like that. And we have two homes. We have a home in Los Angeles where, we get all our work done. And then we have a home out in the desert that is, it's that place up at 5,000 feet. We get snow in the winter. We're on well and solar and all that kind of stuff.
George Lynch is joining us in studio, of course. Dokken, Lynch Mob, KXM, so many other projects. But every time I mention your name to my guitar playing friends, inevitably the first thing they say is, "Ooh, Mr. Scary." And I don't mean you as a person. Obviously, the song, Mr. Scary, is the one that they keep bringing up. What is it about that song, do you think, that made you so popular with guitar players that look up to you?
Well, I just think it was the right song at the right time as far as having a guitar instrumental song out there. I mean, an instrumental song is a hard song to get across to the masses, to have an appeal to people. I mean, you have to have something you can sing and it has a hook and a melody to it. And I think that song might have a little bit of that. And that's maybe why people, latch on to it. They can remember they can go da-da-da-da-da.
So is Mr. Scary part of the set list, possibly?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
sure.
just hey, DC's over there in the corner. He was wondering as much as I was, and all my friend guitar players out there want to know if they're going to hear that. Which also led into starting
it was
your own
originally
line.
going to be a Dokken song with Don singing on it. That was the point of the song.
Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be an instrumental. It just did that by default because we didn't come up with anything vocally for it, and it was just sitting there, and it was either that or it wasn't going to go on the record. And we're all going, oh man, this is too cool. This has got to be on the record. We got to make it work somehow. So they gave me a night, and I just spent all night in the studio with me and the engineer, and came out. And the sun was coming up, and it was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it led to you starting this beautiful line of guitars as well, Mr. Scary Guitars. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I was out of commission for a little while with some health stuff, and I couldn't really do music, so I was doing artwork. I'm not an artist, but I was, what I mean, it's therapy kind of thing, and I just started putting different things together, found pieces and mixed media and whatever. And then I went, wow, why don't I do that on this body? I had a body sitting there, and I go, I'll just translate that onto the body. And I started doing some carving and some painting and gluing things on it and stuff. And it was fun. It was really, actually, I did it because it was really, it was fun. I could just get things off my mind and sort of go into a trance-like state. And then when you're done, you kind of created this interesting, cool thing. And I just kept learning from there. I went to luthier school. I continue to take luthier lessons. Been taking them for 6.5 years, actually. Okay. And now I build almost everything from scratch. Wow. Essentially in my backyard. Yeah. I built a little, what's called a palapa in my backyard, and I work outside when the weather permits, and sometimes inside. And, I got a few tools, but most of it is done by hand. And like the painting, I just, I hang it up on a coat hanger in a tree by the shed. And you get, when you get the guitar, it's got bugs and dust in it.
Right.
It's not perfect. It's very rustic, That's what I do. So.
You don't sleep, do you?
No, you must not have any time.
You're making guitars. You got like 4 bands. You're an artist. You're a luthier.
Well, when people say that, I got to say, they give musicians this pass like, oh, you actually worked. I mean, oh my God.
No, we know you. We know how hard my musician friends work, and you guys are taking it on a whole other level.
But what I'm saying is, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying, you know what? People that have real jobs generally actually really work. I've had lots of real jobs in my life. I mean, you got to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and you do the same thing every day, and it's actually very difficult, and maybe you don't get paid that much. Those are my heroes. I'm not going to go up to a rock star and go, God, you have to work so hard to get on that plane, and then you have to count your money. And, oh, Jesus. And you get in a limo. And
I know. I know a few rock stars.
Where's my tiny violin?
I don't tell them they got to count their money. Believe me, with the way the record industry has gone over the last several years, I never would say that.
And you seem to have so much fun out touring. The stories we heard yesterday were pretty epic. And we heard about one with Aerosmith and you being hung as an angel. How did you end up in that position? Are you
that
always
was my idea.
Are you always part of these pranks? Are you the prankster in the group?
We're all pranksters. I mean, that's what this. I got to tell you, coming back together with these guys after all these decades, it's like nothing changed. We got a few more wrinkles, but I mean, the personalities and the humor and the pranks, as you said, it's all there. It's so funny, man. It's great. That's what makes this band great, I think, is the personalities. But I'm not the sole prankster. I think if anybody, Jeff is.
Really? See, I would have picked Mick.
No, because Jeff actually thinks through his pranks, and they're very involved.
I feel like he'd be sneaky too.
Oh, and he carries it through, for days and weeks. Like he called me up around the Tooth and Nail record at that time,
right.
And I was doing interviews. He called me up, what made it sound from England. He made the phone sound real distorted, and he did a great British accent, and he gave me this name and this phony address and company, and he did a whole interview with me from England. And he had me running around doing all this crazy stuff and talking about all this crazy stuff, and I was like, oh man, because I was younger back then, I was real excited about I was going to be on the cover of one bullshit magazine he made up, and I sent him all this stuff to this fictitious address that didn't exist, and he's done quite a few things like that. That's what makes it fun. I love Jeff.
I can't wait to bring that up to him. I wonder if he remembers doing that.
Oh, he certainly remembers. He catalogs all his. Yeah.
George Lynch joining us in studio. George, you guys have been rehearsing over the Brennan Rock and Roll Academy. I know we shut down the academy for lessons for a couple of days so you guys could have free reign and do your thing. But of course, we give free music lessons to all these kids in the area. They're taught by area musicians. DC has given lessons, our own Ron Keel, Gino and El Diablo from the Badlands House Band. All these people give their time to do that. What advice would you give to not only, say, teenage bands, but especially these kids who are just starting out about the music business? They want to be a rock star like George Lynch. What would you tell them?
Well, be careful what you wish for, number one. And, there's so much to say there. You unpack a lot there and everything you just said. Being a rock star, I don't think you ever want to be a rock star. That isn't the motivation.
Right.
We're all different, and some people do, but that's the wrong thing, I think, to want to do. Because what does that mean?
Right.
I don't even know what that means.
Right. Is that, where is the fame level?
I don't think Jimi Hendrix wanted to be a rock star. Jimmy
wanted to play music.
He wanted people to appreciate what he was doing, and I think that's the distinction.
Okay.
In other words, you have a passion. You have this undeniable urge to create something. It's a work of art, and if it's valid, people will flock to it, and they will appreciate it and you. But also, I think people get too hung up sometimes on the person. They get too hung up on the messenger. We're messengers. We're not actually really creating anything from scratch. We're just kind of regurgitating, resynthesizing things that we've heard in our environment and filtering it through our own kind of unique processor. And, with care and craft and love and so forth. And that's worth something. But to be idolized is kind of silly because really we're just sharing the same thing that the person listening they're part of the creative process as well.
Sure.
We're just all in this together, And I think there'll be a day, and I think about this a lot, and futurists might bear me out, that we all carry this musical gene in our head, right? Propensity to create. So we're all artistic people at some level or another. So at some point, as technology ascends, I think everybody will be their own rock star. You know what I mean? We'll all be creative machines. You can just plug something in, and then if you can conceive of it, you know what? You don't have to have the technical skill to play an instrument. You can bypass that completely and go from thought to reality.
I want that to happen right now.
Well, no,
because then
I'm out of a job.
Because then I could be on the stage finally. Because I literally chose this job because I always wanted to be you or Jimi Hendrix or Robert Plant or whatever in my head. Sure, I'm the guy singing in the car, singing in the shower, whatever. I have no musical ability, so I had to be as close to music as I could get. And this is the job I chose.
And you could interview yourself.
Right. Then I could interview myself, and then we wouldn't need me either.
Yeah, I could just leave and go home, and then I could be a forest ranger like I always wanted to be.
Right. Well, we get to announce this, that today and this weekend is not the only time that you're going to be making an appearance at the Badlands. We were given this thought by your management and by our boss. And why don't you go ahead and let people know?
I think it's November 11th. Lynch Mob is going to be coming back here.
Yes.
And it's ironically doing roughly the same thing Dokken's doing right now, doing a live DVD and an album from Badlands. And the reason we're doing that is because this facility is phenomenal. And there's very few places like this in the world that we know of where you can come up here and get a DVD recorded and a live record and do all the rehearsal and kind of be away from the LA scene so you're not distracted. It's ideal for that. So,
yeah, word is getting out about this place a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff came in the other day. He's like, what do you mean you've only been open since Thanksgiving? I've been hearing so much. I thought you guys have been here for like 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, we wanted to keep it our little secret, but,
Well, word is out, but we are so happy. Lynch Mob, along with special guest Faster Pussycat, on November 11th. Tickets are going to go on sale. We'll make the formal announcement, of course, at the show tomorrow night as well. Chuck will make it from the stage. We're going to put tickets on sale tomorrow night as well. I did find out that it's going to be sort of a KBAD plus-size show. So tickets are going to be $19.45. Going to be a great price. We're going to pack the house and film this live DVD for Lynch Mob, and looking forward to having you back in studio in, about 6 weeks?
Right. And they're going to be giving out free beer as well, I think, at that show.
Okay, that's on Chuck and George, by the way. Yeah. We've got that on film. I did not say that, just in case. George Lynch.
The opening band is called Free Beer.
That's supposed to be it. There we go. Free beer and hot wings or something like that.
Right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming in, spending some time with us, and cannot wait for the show tonight and tomorrow.
Great.
Here at the Badlands. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
We got to leave you with one of DC's favorites as well, Tooth and Nail. It's Dokken on the Morning Crash on KBAD 94.5.